Would aliens be friends or enemies if we met them? We dream of that first intimate encounter with an intelligent species with which we can interact since we are young, and since infancy, we anticipate what that day will be like when we make contact with a race of extraterrestrials. But if I told you that humans have already had their first contact with an intelligent civilization, would you believe me? Feel as though the narrative I'm about to tell you is entirely true if you don't trust me. Our ancestors had communication with intelligent non-human species long ago, and it took place on Earth. They were so closely related that they even had kids together. The encounter took place in Europe 40,000 years ago, most likely in a meadow or forest. Our ancestors managed to see a group of beings that were quite similar to them, but yet incredibly different while they were abruptly searching for food in the distance. They possessed more enormous heads, were taller, and had whiter skin. In addition, they carried weapons that they had crafted themselves and wore skins identical to those of our ancestors. Do you already understand the beings I'm referring to? Specifically from Neanderthals. The human race initially came into contact with a group of creatures that were not human but were remarkably like 40,000 years ago. The fossil record indicates that our initial interaction with them was one of dread. Each group was wary of the other before we progressed to hostility. The first hybrid beings, half human and half Neanderthal, were created as a result of our coexistence in the same region of the Earth since both groups were so similar to one another. We even had intercourse with them. History demonstrates that humans ultimately prevailed in the struggle for life, but not because they cruelly exterminated the Neanderthals, but rather because the majority of them were unable to adjust to the environment. The children of the handful who did so were half human because they had children with humans. But in this instance, humanity came out on top. Thousands of years later, the rules started to change, and every time one civilization came into contact with another for the first time, the one with the most advanced technology won out. The Native Americans with bows and arrows did not fare well when the Spanish conquistadors arrived in America with their pink pistols loaded with gunpowder. The majority were ruthlessly slaughtered. Should we be ready for an attack if aliens are discovered and their technology is significantly more advanced than ours in this regard? The evolution of intelligence advantages when a creature must manage for food, says astrobiologist Dirk Schulzmacher of Arizona State University. Therefore, it is most likely that any intelligent alien species like us will likely have predatory roots. 1. A lion must be smarter than that of a grazing zebra. A wolf must be more intelligent because it is not as strong as a puma. To accomplish its objective before the puma, it must anticipate the next move of the prey and communicate with the other wolves in the pack. A predatory species must eventually develop the ability to hunt sustainably, else both the prey and the predator would go extinct. They will eventually need to use alternative, longer-lasting food sources like humans did when they discovered agriculture. A more intricate social structure and a language are needed to communicate in this situation. Marina Resendez writes in her book The Force of Social Structure that chimpanzees and gorillas, our closest living cousins, have social structures that are considerably different from those of the 40,000 years ago human forebears. 2. Male competition is a prominent feature of the chimpanzee and gorilla social structures. Fearmongering and aggression are commonplace. The morphology of Aramidas indicates that female choice, as opposed to male competition, defined the social structures of our ancestors. They become less aggressive as a result of this system. Outsiders were tolerated more when social structures were more stable. Innovations were more readily accepted by the community, such as using new tools. So, even if they are not mammals and do not share our language, one may assume that if they evolved in a similar manner to us, humans would be able to observe an extraterrestrial civilization in peace. The initial interactions with extraterrestrial life will probably not be as hostile as we anticipate. It's even possible that we start cooperating by trading technology as soon as we figure out how to communicate. To presume that we will locate them, though, presents another issue. Avi Loeb, director of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics Center for Theory and Computation, asserts that if we ever discover evidence of extraterrestrial life, it will be in the form of technology, not biology. That is evident in the way we are currently looking for extraterrestrial life or studying celestial bodies. Sadly, live things made of organic materials like flesh and blood are not designed to exist in space. Therefore, we have invented technology, robots, and artificial intelligence that can do the same job much more effectively and safely than we can. Nowadays, sending a robot to examine a comet is significantly less expensive, complicated, and dangerous than sending a crew of astronauts. The robot can live in the space environment without any issues, does not require food or drink like we do, and is capable of sleeping for as long as it is not required to be awake. An interplanetary journey to the stars lasting thousands of years would be impossible for humans to endure. However, despite the advancements in technology, humans have only colonized the Earth so far. But our technology is already dispersed across a number of heavenly worlds, including Mars, Venus, the Moon, and Saturn, among others. It is very likely that our innovations, not human beings, will be the first to visit the exoplanets of the stars nearest to our solar system because our technology traveled to Mars before we did. Let's say that aliens, like us, have created technology that enables them to leave their planet and travel to adjacent celestial bodies. In that situation, our initial interaction with them will probably be mediated through their technological advancements, such as an exploration probe or an artificial intelligence aboard a scout ship. The well-known extrasolar asteroid Oumuamua might serve as an illustration of this. This extraterrestrial body entered our solar system in 2017 from a different star. This item may have been an extraterrestrial reconnaissance probe, according to many scientists. It did nothing more than gather signals, explore the planets of the solar system, and then return to its position of authority armed with the knowledge. Is this probable? Indeed, but it will probably just be a rock wandering the universe. Yet, it serves as a possible scenario for our initial contact with extraterrestrial life. A meeting of that type will undoubtedly be problematic due to the language barrier between us and you. These beings have evolved in various environments and on several worlds while attempting to communicate. In this sense, our technology would be doing the labor. The most logical thing to happen is that we will eventually create an artificial intelligence that learns to communicate through extraterrestrial technology and later learns to communicate with them. For this reason, it makes sense to assume that these extraterrestrials will create their artificial intelligence at the same time as ours in order to share it with us. But there's a problem. It's possible that the extraterrestrial civilization that created this technology doesn't exist anymore. As we've already established, technology can survive for a long time without requiring a lot of resources, unlike the frail organic living humans. Even if 10 years ago only humans could perform certain tasks, many aspects of human intellect will likely be replaced by our artificial intelligence systems. It is conceivable to see extraterrestrial technology with artificial intelligence linked to 3D printers that would utilize the natural resources of planets to duplicate and self-repair while using machine learning to adjust to changing conditions as they traveled between worlds. An evolved extraterrestrial society might hibernate during lengthy voyages, then reactivate when it is close to the stars, drawing energy from the star's light to refuel. It's possible that the civilization that developed such self-replicating technology has vanished. Even so, its technology will keep replicating and populating the cosmos. And by the time a race of intelligent primates like ourselves acquires such technology, there is no one left with whom to speak because its designers have vanished from the cosmos. Though heartbreaking and depressing, it is a likely situation. Everything seems to point to the impossibility of a Hollywood-style alien encounter where we meet an intelligent culture with much more sophisticated technology that seeks to eradicate us, as in the War of the Worlds. Before sending any of its citizens, a civilization with such technology would probably send reconnaissance probes and artificial intelligence-enabled equipment. That is to say, even if an extraterrestrial society is hostile, we will be warned and have time to get ready before they arrive. What a relief. The last two possibilities, which are the most probable, are left. The first scenario is the one in which we encounter an alien race that is vastly less developed than we are. In this hypothetical situation, we would be the ones to send exploration probes and AI-enhanced technology to the planet we intend to visit. We would likely be feared by extraterrestrial life, just as the Neanderthals of our ancestors were. They will regard us as gods if it is a somewhat better developed civilization. The most advanced civilization, which is us, will ultimately determine how the encounter plays out, so whether this extraterrestrial race ends up being friendly or hostile will depend on how we treat them. Finally, the most plausible scenario, finding microscopic aliens, is the one we can anticipate in the near future. Anjay Lamai of the University of Wisconsin-Madison and astrobiologist Michael Wong of the University of Washington discovered phosphine on Venus in 2017, a substance that is only made by bacteria. Was this a signal that Venus had life? Had we at last discovered it? None of that, according to the scientists. Despite the fact that the discovery was unexpected, everything indicates to the possibility of mechanisms that could account for the presence of this material without involving tiny living organisms that are present in the planet Venus' poisonous clouds. And now, the odds are in favor of finding microorganisms if we do discover extraterrestrial life. Will they be beneficial or harmful microbes? The least is that. As you can see, there are various topics that can be referred to while discussing aliens. But in general, the scales are tipped in favor of creatures who are very dissimilar from the stereotype of green dwarfs that everyone has in mind. When humanity will discover the first evidence of extraterrestrial life, let alone make contact with an intelligent society, is currently unknown. But there is a slim chance that we won't kill one another if there is a society out there like us, has faced numerous challenges to survive, has had to adapt, and likewise has feelings of affection for other living things. Our first encounter with an alien race may initially be frightful, and each race will be scared of the other, just as it was with the Neanderthals. How will they perceive me? We'll be curious. We'll talk about how our technologies facilitate conversation. We might someday get along and coexist in this cosmos together. Who knows? If all goes according to plan, perhaps the next generation of humans will be half human, half extraterrestrial.